Hi everybody, and welcome to Lesson 1 of Landscape Estimating. My name is Richard Zoltek and I will be the instructor for the program. I've already opened up AutoCAD. I'm going to expand it to its full size. And I'm going to start a brand new drawing. So I click on the AutoCAD icon and select New. And we're going to use the AutoCAD template drawing just so that we all have the same screen. And here I'm going to first type in units and switch to architectural. Architectural is used for any type of design, interior design, architectural design, landscape design. The precision's at 1/16 of an inch, which is rather small, but we don't have to worry about that for now. Select OK. And in here, what we're going to be doing today is inserting a PDF drawing that we have, and then scaling it to the right size and doing all of our area calculations based on that drawing. So here I'm going to create a brand new layer, and I'll call it Insert because we'll be inserting a graphic. Now you'll notice here the chip is black, but the wording is white. That's because I have a white background. It's going to draw a black line. If you typically have a black background, you'll have a white chip here, and you'll be drawing a white line. But this is typically the way it's shown and the way it's actually going to print out. So white and black are used interchangeably in that manner. And I'm going to double click on the icon so it becomes current, and I can see it current in the layer and close this down. Now, if you don't already have it open, you need the secondary menu open. So beside the drafting and annotation wording at the top of the screen in the ribbon, I'll click on the arrow that points down, and yours will say show menu bar if it's not exposed on your screen. Mine says hide because it's already there. So now I'm ready to insert the graphic. I'll click on insert. It's a PDF file, so I'll click on PDF. And I've already located the directory in which the actual file is located. So I'll click on the assignment and select open. Now here you'll select specify on screen and scale on screen. We're just going to place it anywhere for now, and then we're going to scale it to the right size. So click on OK, and I'll place it somewhere to the bottom left-hand corner. And I'm going to move my cursor about 1 square or 5 smaller squares up and to the right. It doesn't matter at this point. We're going to rescale it anyways, but it just gives me a decent size. Now, on the actual PDF drawing, I'd already reviewed it, and using a scaled rule based on the drawing, Matt Regimbol, which is a former instructor, had provided us with this drawing for use. And here I have a hidden line which I've scaled up to 47 feet. So now I can reference this drawing and scale it to the right size so that I can do accurate calculations. So I'm going to click on the line tool and make a 47-foot reference line. And I'll start it at the base of this line. Now this is a pixel-based image. So I'm zooming in right down to the pixel, and you can tell that you're there because you see the little squares. And those squares are individual pixels. That's as tight as you want to get to the image. And I want to select the center of the horizontal line and the center of the vertical line. Now it still is an approximation, but it's a pretty good approximation. And then from there, I've clicked on the first point, and then I'll type in at 47 feet, less than 90, and press enter. Press enter again to end the command, and I'm going to zoom out, and you can see that that line now represents on my screen an accurate measure of 47 feet. So I'm going to use that reference line to scale the drawing up to that size. I'm just making sure that it's vertical, and you can see the hidden line right there. It's almost through the center of it. It's pretty close to the center of that drawing or that pixel, so I don't have to rotate this drawing in place. I simply need to scale it up. So now we're ready to scale the drawing, and we have a reference line to scale it to. So I will select scale from my ribbon, and I'll click on the edge of the drawing. That's the only place that you can click on with a PDF file because the center of it really doesn't have a selectable area. So click on the edge of it, and I'll press enter. Now it's asking me to specify a base point. I want to pick the bottom of the line. Now you'll notice that it's snapping to the bottom. It's actually not snapping to the drawing in the background. It's snapping to the line I have actually drawn. So I'll click on that position. And then it's asking me for a reference. So I'll type in REF and enter. Now the scale reference is the size on the drawing referenced to the line that I drew. So the size of the drawing is from the base of this. Now, clicking on the line, but I've lined up the line to the drawing. I know that may sound confusing, but I'm going to click on this position, and then I want to find the top of the drawing, not the line that I drew, but the drawing. So once again, I'm going to zoom into that pixel. So which pixel center do I pick? I have three. I'm going to pick the darkest horizontal and the darkest vertical. So it's right in the middle of this square. Now, if I just click on it, it may snap to the endpoint. See the word endpoint? So I want to select Shift right mouse key, and I'm going to pick the term nearest. And that will pick anywhere along that line. So you can see my little symbol, and I'm estimating the center of that square. So that is the length on the drawing. Now I go to the endpoint of the line. So I'm zooming out, and I'm panning, and I'm clicking the end of that line. And the PDF in the background is now to scale to the AutoCAD drawing. So that length there, if I were to measure it, so I'll go into Tools, Inquiry, Distance, and I will go from the bottom of this to the top of that. You'll notice it says 47 feet. So the drawing is now to scale. So we're ready to start calculating the different areas that we have here. Now there are several different techniques I could use to calculate the areas. However, I want to use the most accurate technique, and by using this technique, I'm never going to overlap specific areas. I'm always going to go to the actual boundary of one area compared to the other. So the first thing I'm going to look at are the different names or the different areas that are being required. So the driveway fill area or infill area, and then the driveway soldier course area. So we've got two different areas. The soldier courses are on either side of the driveway. The driveway infill area is in this section. So in order to be able to go back to this and remeasure it or make sure that I have a very accurate type of drawing, I'm going to create different layers for each of the different items that I'm going to be measuring. And then what I'm going to do is actually draw polylines that represent them. And some of the polylines are quick and straightforward, and others are a bit more difficult, or I should say challenging to do. So the driveway infill area is the next one I'm going to do. So I'll create new and select driveway infill area. Now I could leave the word area out, and I will make it a color that's visible. So I'll pick one of the primary colors. I'll pick the blue, select OK, make it current, close this down. And here, the infill area is all through this. Now you'll notice it's bounded by the soldier course on either side, as well as the natural stoneway. All right, so let's do the polyline in the driveway infill area. And once again, I'm going to zoom right into the pixel level and try to click as close as I can to the center of the actual pixel. And you'll notice that my line work, when I scaled it up, it was pretty well dead bang on in terms of rotation. So I'm going to change here to F8 to give myself a nice horizontal and vertical line. And you can see there's a slight rotation change here. That's okay. I'm going to click on that point there and move downwards. And once again, move to the center of that pixel. And the infill area goes here. Now there's three different sort of pixels here. I'm going to pick the center one as best I can. Now it's not perfect, but it's going to be pretty close to what we need. And I'll pick that spot right there between those two dark pixels, the center of that. Come down here, pick the center of that, and across. And I'm going to pick the left edge of that. And then I can go to the top of the line and close that in. Great. Press enter. Now, by creating a polyline that represents that, I have points that I can snap to that line. I have points that I can snap to when I calculate some of the other areas or draw a polyline in the other areas. Now, that's not absolutely necessary, but it's a very, very accurate technique. So when we want to measure this particular area, this is what we're going to do. First of all, I'm going to create a text layer. So I'm going to create a layer in here that will be text. And this is where I'll put in all my data as it gets calculated, and I'll make it black. Okay, close that down. And now I'm going to measure that polyline. So there's two different ways of measuring this. Because I've created a polyline, it's easier. I can go into Tools, Inquiry, Area, and notice down below I have an option here called Object. So if I type in O and Enter, and I click on that polyline, it picks the area that it basically contained. And you'll see right here, it says 527.6330 square feet. That's the number I'm looking for. We're going to go to 2 decimal place accuracy. So 527.63 would be fine for what we're doing. And that is how we calculate the infill area here. I'm going to be placing that information directly on the drawing. But before I do so, I want to make sure that the information I'm putting in text format is the same size as the text that's already there on the drawing. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure the actual height of the lettering that's there. So Tools, Inquiry, Distance. And this is a guesstimate because we don't have to be overly accurate. And it's approximately 1 foot, 3.5. I'm going to go with 1 foot 4 for my heights. And I'm going to switch to the text layer. Click on the text icon, and I'll place all the text information just slightly to the right and below the information that's already there. Make my text box, and I will type in the answer 527.63, 527.63, and use the foot mark. But you'll notice that the text is actually, as shown here in the ribbon, 3/16 of an inch. I don't want it that height. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to change the height here to 1 foot 4 inches. 1 foot 4, and press enter. Now it looks huge on our page for now. That's okay. Just click anywhere on your screen, and you'll see it'll come up to a size that's a bit more in proportion to the lettering that we have here. And that's how we'll do our area calculations. Now, I do recommend this technique. You don't have to have that polyline there to take measurements. So, for instance, I will create a measurement here for the sod without doing that. And you can go into Tools, Inquiry, Area, and then draw out from pixel to pixel. And you can see you get this green bar. Now it's snapped to that location, so I'll type in U and enter. And here I'm going to have to pick nearest. And then I'll go to the end. So this is my sod location. Now it's snapped to the end of the line here. Why? Because I have my F8 on. So I will undo that and take off my F8. And now I can go into any direction. So we could use this technique. I'll press enter, and it's pretty accurate. There's my area, 91.9791 square feet, or about 92 square feet. The problem with that is after I finish that, I can't go back to it. There's nothing that remains there. So I do recommend using polylines, and by using polylines, you don't overlap. What do I mean by that? So we have the soldier course area, which is the next one. So I will create a layer called soldier course. And just move that out of the way. And in this layer, this is the driveway soldier course. And I will make that a slightly different color. I'm going to pick the cyan. So why is that important? So here's the big difference with this. I'll make this current. This is a rectangle. Easy enough. I'm going to click on the rectangle tool. I'm going to pick part of the driveway that doesn't have a polyline right now. Or what I can do now is actually snap to a location that I already have. And by doing that way, I have some accuracy that I otherwise wouldn't, because it guarantees that I'm not going to overlap. See where I have it here? So I can go straight up here and click to this location. Now, I'm going beyond what's really required in terms of the accuracy level, but it gives me a nice, accurate dimension. You'll notice that these two lines may not accurately overlap. Let me just pick both of them. See, the dots are slightly different, but I could, if I wanted to, click on the midpoint here and stretch it to be perpendicular to that line. And now it's right down to the point. And this is something that if I use this technique, I'm guaranteeing as accurate as possible a drawing in estimating. So here I'll go and select Tools, Inquiry, Area, select O on our keyboard for Object, click on the object, and there is the area, 27.30 square feet. That I can list here and copy this number down to here. Remember, there are two different soldier course areas. So I'm going to just duplicate that number twice because I'll put in the two areas and then put in that polyline area here. So this one is 27.30 feet. And I can use other techniques. Now I can copy this area because I have the right width from there to this point. So it's the same width on both sides. And now I can move this polyline from this point to be perpendicular with that line there. And I'll do the measurement there. Tools, Inquiry, Area. And I'll select the object. And it says that it is 16.80 square feet. So that is 16.80. And now by adding these two together, I can get the total soldier course area. And it's nice because I can always go back and remeasure in case I've got a number wrong or something seems wrong. And in that particular case, I can modify it and make sure that it is more accurate. If somebody wants to come along and increase the soldier course width and I want to maintain the outer edges, I can easily do it here using the scale command and scale the two objects together and allow me to recalculate the area of the infill quickly and accurately. So there's a lot of advantages to using this polyline technique in calculating the area, especially when it comes to here. So we've got a bunch of curves here to measure the sod, and this will be our biggest challenge in terms of determining the area. Here I'm going to create a layer, and it will be called sod. And I'm going to make it green. And this polyline here is going to be a challenge. And we're going to get as close as we can to it and then come back to it and edit it and modify it in order to make it as accurate as possible. So I'm going to start with the polyline command. I'm going to click on polyline. And when I select that, you'll notice that it picks up this corner right away. That's because I've drawn a previous polyline there. And I'm going to go from here, and I want to pick up this point right along this line. So I'm going to select nearest. Now, right now, it's drawing a straight line, but here I've got a curve. This is where practicing with polyline and learning about the polyline technique is really important, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge. I'm going to type in A and enter for arc, and you can see an arc being generated. And what I want to do is find the transitional point between one arc and the other. It's going to be a guess. I'm going to be able to adjust this guess at a later time. So don't worry about how it turns out. Some of these circles are going to be enormous, but eventually we're going to edit them so they're pretty accurate. So the transitional point to me when I look at these two is somewhere around here. Now it's going to continue on with the arc command. The second transition point is somewhere around here. And then the third transition point, you can see how huge that arc is somewhere around here. So I'm going to click this location right about here in the center of that pixel. And then I'm going to type in L and enter to switch back to the line command. And see, now I've got a straight line. I'm going to go to the end of this, pick the center of that pixel right there. And I'm going to complete my polyline by going back to the start of it. and then press enter. So that's a closed polyline, and I'll make sure it's closed later on. Now these arcs are huge. That's okay, not to worry about it, because we're going to correct that. So the first one I'm going to correct is this one. When I click on it, I've got a midpoint or a mid marker. From there, I'm going to click on that mid marker and come as close as I can to the center of this arc. You can see it's a guess through all the different pixels. There we go. The second one is absolutely massive. There it is. I'm going to click the midpoint of that arc and then zoom in. So I'm scrolling my mouse. I'm using the wheel while I've clicked on the center of that. And now I've identified the center of the pixels that were generated there. And then from here, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to click on the center of that arc and bring it down to the center of the sawed area, approximately there. So just to show you how that actually looks, I'm going to type in pedit and switch the width to be about, I don't know, 4 inches. There we go. And you can see the area that I have selected. It's pretty accurate to the drawing. And that's really what we need. Now I can do an easy area calculation. I go into my tools, select inquiry, area, object, type in O and enter, and then click on the polyline. And when I click on that polyline, it's going to give me a quick answer to that particular area. Now the sod will be that location and then this shape in through here. And that's how we would actually calculate the sod. Now I didn't click on area because I want you to be able to determine that. Using this technique, go through all the different items that are here that are selected. Some of them you can just count. So for instance, when you're looking at some of the trees, you just pick on the centers of the trees. You don't have to create a layer for the trees, but you will create a layer for the mulch area that is all around the trees. And notice now I can use the curves that I already have here for the sod to use the curves for the mulch. Go through the entire drawing, fill this out, make sure your name is on the drawing, and then print that out. So when you go to finalize this drawing, save it along the way, and then you're going to print this. So File, it will be a plot. This time you're going to go into the Adobe PDF. Letter size is fine. You're going to plot a window, and the window you're going to select is from the outer edge of the PDF to the outer edge of the PDF. Make sure that it fits the paper. Make sure you select center of the plot. If I preview that, you can see how that drawing nicely fits on 8.5 by 11. They'll have your name with all the different measurements, and that will be your submission. When you do send me this particular drawing, you'll notice I can see your polylines in each of the areas. The mulch area or the planting bed area, you do not have to calculate dimension of any of the stock that is going through the mulch, but what you will have to calculate is the planting area that's just beside the word sod, all the way to the stepping stone and in around the entire property. You don't have to subtract, obviously, the hedge or the plants, but you will have to subtract the stepping stones that are embedded on the mulch area. Once again, we're using this because a PDF was supplied instead of a CAD drawing. If somebody actually supplies a CAD drawing, then we can use this technique without having to scale up a PDF. We simply go into the CAD drawing and create all the different layers and make our polyline selection based on the drawing or the line work that's already there. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure that you understand it fully. It will be an exercise that we repeat throughout the program, so it's important that you understand the basics of it.